Good morning on what is a warm, bright and humid day. It is Sunday the 25th of June. I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And a box to continue unboxing. And, okay, what I've got in here is Star Trek Adventures Delta Quadrant. Now I've looked at the three previous supplements for Star Trek Adventures in this series, so Alpha, Beta and Gamma quadrants, which cover essentially the space in and around the territory of the United Federation of Planets, and these have been actually pretty good source books for Star Trek Adventures. There's really good overviews of their regions. In particular, the Gamma quadrant was a really good overview as well of the Dominion War. So anyway, far from home, somewhere along this journey we'll find a way back. Mr. Paris set a course for home. Captain Catherine Janeway. So that gives you a clue of what this supplement sort of focuses upon. The Delta Quadrant sourcebook provides game masters and players with a wealth of information to aid in player characters or running adventures set within the ever-expanding Star Trek universe. The Delta Quadrant sourcebook includes detailed information about the post-war Federation and USS Voyager's monumental mission, bringing the Star Trek Adventures timeline up to 2379. Information on the many species inhabiting the quadrant, including the Kazon Collective, the Vidian, Sudality, the Malon, the Vorth, and more. Extensive content on the Borg Collective, including their history, hierarchy, locations, processes, and technology. A dozen new species to choose from during character creation, including Ankari, Ocampa, Talaxians, and even liberated Borg. A selection of alien starships, including Kazon Raiders, Vorth city ships, Herodian warships, and a devastating collection of new Borg vessels. Guidance to aid the Game Master in running missions and continuing voyages in the Delta Quadrant, with a selection of adventure seeds and non-player characters. So that's all on the back. Let's unwrap and find out what is inside. So it's taken a while for me to get hold of these last two quadrant books, although I've been meaning to look at them for some time. What we have, okay, is not actually a map of the Delta Quadrant. Instead, we have homeward bound path of the USS Voyager. So that's different. So, what this means is that much of the Delta Quadrant remains a mystery. This is all written then from the experience of the USS Voyager and her crew. So, we've got essentially an overview, and then we've got the actual path in detail, sections 1, 2, 3. This is actually, and it's continued on the back pages. So, 4, 5, 6, 7. They just give you an idea of just how mammoth, that journey back was. So inside, credits and content page, we have an overview of a Borg cube, and then introduction, essentially just explaining the supplement structure, how to use it in a campaign, and an interesting section on yesterday's Enterprise. Just about every supplement for Star Trek Adventures has this section, because Star Trek Adventures is not just set in sort of like the contemporary period of 2371 and then with this through to 2379, which is the period of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and now Voyager, because it also takes in the original series of under Captain Kirk, and then Enterprise under Captain Archer. So you've got that advice there. Then we have an overview of the Voyager and the systems integration, sort of like some of the changes made to ensure that the ship could survive for any length. We've got an overview really of the mission, basically a retrospective from Admiral Janeway, before we get into a description of the Delta Quadrant itself. So this looks at the Devore Imperium, Herogen, the Kazon Order, and so on. All of the sort of like the major polities, the Kranian Imperium, the Malin Cooperative, at species 88472. So in some ways this can definitely be seen as the Voyager source book. So numerous different polities and species and and organisations are kind of covered here. Also stellar and spatial phenomenon, and of course you've got sort of like the colour content, the colour and flavour content. For example, we have a lecture excerpt, xenoecologist, on the risks of basing species knowledge on individual or small group behaviour. There we go. So it's in-game content, but that can be used as sort of like inspiration by the game master as well. Then we have in particular worlds of the Delta Quadrant. So these are just descriptions of the worlds that the Voyager visited over the years, and then almost like it's essentially the source book, the supplement, sort of like the supplement essentially that everyone kind of would have wanted is here in as a chapter in its own right in this source book, and that's the Borg Collective. Because with the presence of 7 Up 9, we learned an awful lot about the Borg Collective and its operations. So and we even have an after-action report, Battle of Wolf 359, which is the major conflict. The first major encounter with the Borg by the Federation. So this is quite a lengthy chapter. We have a Borg locations. So Borg space, terrestrial worlds, and various worlds that the Borg Collective has occupied. We have a strategic assessment of the Borg. And then species of the Delta Quadrant, and these include the Ankari, and these are all available as potential player characters as well as NPCs. The Jai, and we've got a section on non-Starfleet unusual and unique characters, and this is kind of a reprints the section kind of that appeared in the the Gamma Quadrant book, but gives from the Delta Quadrant perspective. Options for liberated Borg, not new, of course. There were rules for it for the Icon version of Star Trek back in the late 90s in Inquest magazine. So what's got the Karim and the Nari, the Monian. So it may well have to sort of like delve back into the archives of Voyager episodes to quite remember who they are. But yeah, lots of different races, species here. And then we even have basically species both familiar and strange. Some further ideas, such as like Borg drones disconnected, and then starships of the Delta Quadrant. So we have Borg collective starships, including the Borg octahedron, because if you can have a Borg cube, it makes sense to have all the other Borg ships be essentially polyhedrons. So along with that, you've got a Borg probe, tactical cube, Borg Taurus, discussion of Borg technology, and in particular we have Delta Quadrant starships. That includes the Delta Flyer, which can have the Talent Hot Rod. So basically built for speed. We have a Kazon Trade Raider. Sadly not illustrated, which is disappointing, but Hirogen warship, Hirogen Venatic, and more. Okay. Species 8472 bioship. Basically, species 8472 is sort of like the biological sort of like equivalent to the Borg, kind of. There was definitely their antithesis. And we've got sort of like their ships. Voth city ships. And then encounters and adversaries, which includes we've got encounter seeds, discussion of a Delta Quadrant focused campaign, and then various NPCs. Including those directly from the series. Stats for species 8472. Vidian Phage Carrier and Harvester. And then we have encounters and adversaries, a particular section exploring Borg space, which also covers the ideas such as outdated Borg models, a Borg-focused campaign, liberating Borg drones, assimilating supporting cast. Notable empathy, Hugh. And the Borg Queen. Oh, and Commander Shelby, rival to Riker. Defeating the Collective, quite possible. Yeah, and yeah, that then is Star Trek Adventures Delta Quadrant supplement. Looking forward to digging into this. This looks really interesting. Sourcebook. Hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook away, you'll see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so. All, of course, accompanied by a nice cup of tea. Then do please click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.